on your
Is
third
this
reading
committee for community improvement?
Yeah,
currently does not have.
I can tell you how. I think it's only supposed to get
Right.
one reading.
So if you
Yes.
Yeah.
amend
Got
to
that.
add,
Date.
amend to add,
Mhm. Hey Rose, how's it going?
do
So this one
I could give them.
needs to be tabled to January 17th.
There's another page
Yep,
underneath.
we'll flip it when you're finished.
30 days notice.
Jeff and Bill.
So there's that one. And then
Okay.
this one needs to be tabled to
Okay.
Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this one.
Is this
Yep,
the one
okay,
she was
perfect.
talking about in the emergency?
Okay, so we'll.
When I look up there, here is
You
the
look
word
very
grade.
dapper yet again.
Cute.
And
I'm
then
in Mercer County today.
When you look up there, it is.
Yeah, quite an adventure.
there was
Not
still-
every day you get to work with the good guys.
This
So
one might need
Yeah, we're just gonna table it because planning commission doesn't talk about the annexation until tomorrow night,
Say that.
so this
so Wednesday night, so out of respect, we're gonna just,
table it to
Table it to-
Thursday.
yeah,
Oh,
12/8. And then
Okay.
this is already tabled. Oh, no, we're gonna table it tonight
After it gets its third
to
reading.
12/8.
It's its
Third reading, we'll
we're
add
going
the
to
emergency
add
clause
that.
and then, and table it. Okay.
And then we just have. Since
I'm gonna do that first, right?
It'll get its third reading,
Uh-huh.
and then you'll amend it to add the emergency clause. And then we will vote on the emergency clause. Then it will table.
And then I'll make a motion to table.
Okay. We'll just go. Okay. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here this evening. Jody, could you call the roll?
Dennis,
here.
Harold,
Here.
Hollenbaugh,
Here.
Odericio.
Here.
Phipps,
Here.
Robinette.
Here.
Rabando.
Here.
Okay. The minutes from our November 21st meeting were distributed for your perusal. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Have approved minutes. Correspondence. Do we have any correspondence this evening?
Yes, one item was received. The mayor is requesting confirmation of an appointment to the Human Relations Commission. The appointment is for Molly Pollock to serve on the HRC through May 31st, 2022. This appointment will be effective immediately.
Mr. President,
Mr. Harold.
I move that we approve the appointment.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Welcome aboard. Any other correspondence?
No, but one quick correction. It's May 31st of 2023. Sorry.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
In which case I rescind. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait a minute, that changes everything.
Sorry
Okay,
about that.
that
Thank you.
brings us to lobby visitations. I'm assuming we have someone signed up.
I do. Suzanne Midden.
If you could please come to the podium and give your name and address for the record.
Podium. Hello, my name is Suzanne Midden, and I live at 337 Buttonwood. Can you hear me?
No.
No? What if I stand out here?
The mic.
Hello? No?
There we
There
go.
we go. Okay. So I'm here because I want to object to the PR proposal for the zoning changes. And I hate to be a naysayer, but I have, for a long time, had some problems with some of the same things that they're proposing to do, the council wants to do, and I don't quite understand why we want to add more to this. So I just have basically two things. We don't have a problem, I don't think, with walkability. I walk every single day, and on my main walk, I go down Church Street. And last year, while I was walking there in the summer, I counted 17 trees down to improve the sidewalks. So now there is a barren wasteland, a plastic sidewalk or whatever that is. It's not cement. And the trees are gone. I noticed that they put some back. I don't know when. It must have been just shortly. Some little teeny ones about as big around as my finger. And what I'm concerned about is that this is going to happen more and more. You add more buildings and you add more rentals. I guess that's what you want, or apartment buildings and businesses. I don't see how that can improve walkability. And then the second thing is it appears to me to be a bad idea to add more rental properties and more businesses when we already have kind of lax code enforcement. We don't have a real code enforcement office. And I think unless we have one that could deal with people's issues, which are bound to come up, they come up right now. And you want to add more people, we want to add more people and more business, they're going to come up more. I've lived in my house for 34 years. And I put every last ounce of energy that I had and money I didn't have into keeping that thing from falling down. And I don't like the idea that, randomly I might have a parking lot in my next door neighbor's yard or something. My last little comment is I'd like to know why you want to do this when all of us who live here don't want it. So, I think there must be some other agenda that we don't know about. And I wish you would tell us what it is. And that's all I have to say.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Sandy Wicks.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm just reading my comments, so I hope they'll hit a nerve. Like so many of us here tonight, I want to preserve and protect our neighborhoods for homeowners and for renters. There are many reasons for doing this. The main focus of my comments tonight will be maintaining a strong and vibrant downtown. Having started several businesses myself in downtown Bowling Green, which include Grounds for Thought, Natty Threads, and Call of the Canyon, I know what it takes to keep a business going and how important a vibrant and attractive downtown is to that business's success. If we go back to the 70s and the 80s, the downtowns of small Midwestern cities like BG were cleaned out by malls and big box stores. Fortunately for BG, we were able to persevere, in large part due to a common desire to keep our historic downtown. Working with the city, businesses created a downtown business association. This 40-year collaboration was not easy at times, but it produced such things as the Black Swamp Arts Festival, the Farmers Market, Art Walk, the Friday Night Lights, the holiday decorations, and all of the downtown plantings that you see. And more recently, businesses have come together to create Firefly Nights and Chocolate Walk, just to name a few.
And now BGSU has come on board with their fall Main Street Festival and the planned Court Street Corridor project. Overlaying all of this was the Heritage 2000 project, which was led by former Mayor Wes Hoffman, which created the beautiful downtown that we have today. These things do not happen by magic. It takes hard work, new ideas, and most importantly, continued support from everyone to keep moving forward. We as a community must support the downtown, not pull businesses away. The proposed plan, which was based on larger cities such as Chicago, may be essential for Toledo and Dayton downtown redevelopment, but seems very misplaced for BG and potentially damaging to our city. Let's rethink this plan, which among other items encourages the weakening of BG's downtown, a downtown that lends character to our community and remains one of our very best features. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Les Barber.
Les Barber, 303 North Prospect Street. It's pretty obvious that there's a citizen movement, a growing one here tonight in opposition to the imposing of a PR districting on only the older historic residential neighborhoods of BG. I believe that we're united in our desire that the PR district designation for us be replaced with simple R2. I'm here tonight, though, basically to make a particular argument that hasn't really been developed before. Most of you, but maybe not everybody, will remember the Community Action Plan of 2018. We want to know why that plan was not followed in the updates fashioning of this PR district concept. The Community Action Plan, CAP, I'm going to call it from now on, was a true community-led effort guided by a consulting firm named Camiros. It was led by a BG community task force, and it had the support of virtually all of the community when it was finished. Ordinary homeowners, business people, virtually everybody, as far as I could tell. The action plan was developed after an intensive study of the whole city, but the citizen task force came to the conclusion that specific movement to reduce decline in property values and degradation of housing stock in BG would best be targeted on actions in the area of the city lying east of Main Street. The CAP called for a set of specific actions to accomplish this, and City Council approved the plan and has been moving in the years since 2018 to implement as many of its recommendations, understandably in a prioritized order, as many as possible. So why weren't the CAP's recommended actions followed in the development of this PR district idea? As they should have been, as far as I'm concerned. The CAP specifically called for what they designated single-family reinvestment in most of the areas of Ward 1 and 2 that are now being proposed for PR district designation. And by implication, even though they didn't address it as directly as they might otherwise have, same thing in the parallel neighborhoods in Wards 3 and 4. CAP did propose higher density for select areas in Wards 1 and 2, but only along the east side of the railroad tracks in Ward 1 and south of Crim School in Ward 2. It seems to me, I think it seems to all of us, that the authors of the update should have felt an imperative to follow the cap in developing their zoning proposals. And certainly city council, you folks, should feel that imperative. I think it's an ethical one, really, as you act on the updates proposals tonight and in the weeks to come. The cap has had a special status in the city ever since it was approved by council in 2018. It should not have been violated by this rezoning effort to enact a kind of social experiment for the city at the expense of our neighborhoods and against our wishes. A social experiment, by the way, which is offered to us without any supporting evidence that I've seen that it has succeeded in accomplishing its presumed goals in any other small U.S. city where decades of converting single-family homes into rental units for unrelated 18 to 22-year-olds has also occurred. I ask you somewhat passionately, actually, and I think all of us are asking you somewhat passionately, not to approve that part of the new zoning map designating us as a PR district. And there's a simple, easy fix, as I see it. Leave the PR district idea on the books if you think that's best for some possible future appropriate use, but list our neighborhoods on the map as just an R2 zone. Or if you need more time to consider the matter, at least postpone any vote on the map to some later date than tonight. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Penny Evans Meyer.
Hello, I'm Penny Evans-Meyer, and I live at 203 Buttonwood Avenue. My comments tonight are about the proposed new zoning map and code. On the new zoning map, the residential area around our downtown will become pedestrian resident, or the PR district that I know a couple of other speakers have spoken about already. This area, which is currently zoned R2 residential and is predominantly single-family homes, is designated for significant change. The lots would become tiny, with structures only 5 feet from the front sidewalk. There would be little, if any, room for driveways. Businesses could be built in between homes, in front of homes, or replace homes entirely. And customers for the businesses would need to park on our narrow side streets. Older homes could become multi-unit rentals, and there would be more traffic and less parking. I've listened carefully to city council members discuss the new zoning code. I've asked questions, I've read a number of documents, and most recently, I was told that the resource used to develop the new zoning code was the zoning diagnostic report for the city of BG. So I had a look at that report. 3 items or themes came up again and again. Number 1, a thriving city needs to have a strong business core, including shops that can be accessed without a car. Number 2, a thriving city needs a mix of housing, homeowners and renters in every neighborhood center. Number 3, a thriving city needs to have some green space, promote health and fitness activities, and be walkable. Interestingly enough, the proposed PR district already has a strong connection to downtown businesses. Residents can support local shops easily, every day, on foot. This near-to-town district already has a pleasant mix of housing, including homeowners, renters, small lots, larger lots, many very old homes, and some multi-unit dwellings. The proposed PR district is already very walkable. there are sidewalks, quiet streets, large shade trees, gardens, and some open green space. BG's downtown shops, the post office, restaurants, the library, and several of our favorite coffee shops are all within 1/2 to 1 mile from the proposed PR district. So why the big change for this residential neighborhood near downtown? What would be gained by shrinking the lots, squeezing in buildings, covering over gardens, increasing traffic on our quiet side streets? I know City Council may be discussing the rezoning map tonight. And I wanted to remind you all that I've heard one goal for doing the work, the big job of a new zoning map was to make the code less complicated. I agree. And you could simplify the zoning map and take the PR district designation for this near town area out. You could let this area remain R2 residential as it is currently. I know there are many, many people here this evening that support retaining the R2 residential area. Not all of us are speaking tonight, so I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. And thank you to City Council for listening to our concerns.
Thank you very much.
Stephen Ricard.
Steve Ricard, 502 West Worcester. I am not going to speak long because other people have very eloquently given where most of us, if not all of us assembled here tonight, are feeling and thinking. But I will say that anytime a community makes a change, for instance, in my neighborhood, I'm on the corner of North Maple and West Worcester, when new sidewalks get put in, it's wonderful. And the conversation almost automatically in the neighborhood is, what do you think that will do to the value of our properties? And it would be silly for us not to recognize that changes to the neighborhood can either benefit or be a detriment to the value of what we have invested in this neighborhood. And I've been there now over 30 years. I did not buy that home built in 1886 to flip and make a killing on. That's where we wanted to live. And our neighbors, we know, are of the same mind. This change that is being proposed, I have not been able to see in any publications how that would improve the value of my home. Now, I don't want to sound selfish there, but I'm just being honest. Everybody here who owns their own home is asking the same question. Will this be a help or a detriment to my bottom line? And I think that just needs to be vocalized. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Carol Semested.
Hi, I haven't prepared anything. I just want to say I'm really surprised to see so many people here. And I think it's great. I've been a resident of Bowling Green almost all of my 68 years. And I have watched a lot of really wonderful businesses start up and unfortunately fail. But people keep trying, and it's just wonderful that that happens, and that our town provides the kind of creative environment to try that kind of aspiration. I guess what I really want to say is I wasn't prepared. I didn't have any information about this until Joyce Kepke left a flyer on my door. And I have spoken to several people today who don't live under a rock as I do, who actually have a real social life and pay attention to what's happening in the community more so than I do. And they don't understand what's happening. And so I think more time might be my request. I'd like to study the proposal. And I also have one more. I'm totally puzzled about finding finding stats and consultants who really don't understand the nature of this community. I feel that what I've heard, I haven't read enough, but I do feel like their projection may not match what my projection would be for development, because I'm not against development. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
William Robert Reichert.
Yes, I'm William Robert Reichert, and I live with Carol at 458 South Church Street, Bowling Green. And I am a patriotic Bowling Greener Carol and I were traveling all around wonderful exotic places, Colorado, Missoula, Montana, Ithaca, New York for the 70s. And we came back in the 80s, and Bowling Green has been a haven to us. I did not own a driver's license until I was 50 years old. And I couldn't have done that in many communities, but Bowling Green allowed me to do that. I'm a great supporter of the Bowling Green Police Department, who I have incredible evidence of helpful generosity from. And the legal system of Bowling Green Wood County is incredible, helpful, great. Everything is wonderfully great. Now, I have a sister who lives in Hanover, New Hampshire, and she's regaled me with stories over the last decade of situations in which the citizens of the town voted to not allow construction in a downtown area on the part of Dartmouth College, which runs the place. And a second vote happened, and the vote was once again a negative vote. And the construction company simply came in, dropped their machinery, and out of state construction company came in, started digging. And when people confronted them, they said, well, we've already started. There's nothing we can do. You see the hole, we've got to go forward. We can't go back. And the construction is going on to this day. Stories like this are happening on the East Coast, and they're happening in the world out there. And the idea that Bowling Green not be a place like that is just absolutely critical to all of our thinking who are here. To sum things up, I simply want to say that this holiday season, if I turn on the television and I come upon a showing of It's a Wonderful Life, at the end of the night, I want to feel that I live in Bedford Falls and not Pottersville.
All right, thank you.
John Sampin.
My name is John Sampin. I live at 131 North Maple. I've been a resident of the city for nearly 50 years, and I love living in an older home, which we purchased under the R2 coding zone. I'm not in favor of this new pedestrian residential code, and I think it's a bad idea. If, however, council thinks it's a good idea to have a PR district, I think we should share this with the whole city. With this concept, we could have multiple families living in single home dwellings in Stone Ridge or Westgate. And we could let those neighborhoods also enjoy having a corner store or a startup retail business next door. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anessa Miller.
In almost 40 years, every visitor I've ever hosted in Bowling Green has commented on the charm of our downtown. People I don't even know have remarked to me that you're lucky to live in such an attractive town. I have no doubt that the prime inspiration for this praise comes from the consistency of turn of last century architecture throughout our city center. The business district is the core, but our old residential neighborhoods surrounding it are just as essential to this charming character. Without them, commercial buildings will be reduced to a quaint replica of an old-fashioned town. As a near downtown resident, I am profoundly concerned about conflicts between the proposed zoning updates and the goals of historic preservation. The more I have learned about the proposals, the more my concerns have grown. Yes, there is provision for a historic overlay to protect designated buildings, but the process of historic designation is largely untested and even unexplored. I believe only 3 buildings have been designated thus far, one of which belongs to the state of Ohio, and so may not even be eligible for municipal level protection. The ability of our unfunded Historic Preservation Commission to effectively protect our local architectural heritage remains unknown. Moreover, these issues relate to listing individual buildings on some undefined registry, but nothing undermines the character of a neighborhood faster than individual historic buildings winding up next door to infill structures of a modern, or shall I say even brutalist character. Determining and implementing an entire historic overlay zone is bound to require a good deal of time. To the best of my knowledge, the task has yet to be undertaken in any concerted way. Meanwhile, the proposed new code states, this zoning code shall become effective on the date of passage and adoption by Bowling Green City Council, a time frame that leaves nearly all of our historic buildings hanging out to dry. Many proposed changes for the so-called pedestrian residential district are drastic, as others have mentioned, and could lead to rapid deterioration of historic or simply older neighborhoods. Reducing front lawn setbacks to 5 feet would allow an entire new structure to be erected between an existing home and its sidewalk. Is the goal of density worth blocking facades of historic buildings from view? The idea of providing denser housing to facilitate increased population begs the question of how people prefer to live. I believe it's well known that at any given moment, there are virtually no starter homes available to buyers in Bowling Green. The limited number of existing smaller homes that occasionally come to market tend to become rentals. Over the past 12 months, I saw this process play out with 2 such properties that I had an interest in purchasing. I fail to see how increasing the stock of duplexes and multi-occupancy buildings will address this ongoing problem. And speaking of density, last night I measured my shared driveway and confirmed that the north wall of my home is just 22 feet from the house next door. On the south side, there's all of 28 feet between mine and the neighbors. On North Grove, as many of you know, homes are even more tightly packed. In short, these blocks are already very dense as compared to most of Bowling Green housing districts. What makes us the target of council's desire for increased shoulder-to-shoulder living? Those of us who prefer older neighborhoods and have been willing to invest in them over the years have now been called snobs and bigots, as if we are the ones fleeing to the edges of town to escape mixed-use blocks with rentals and businesses. This is not only insulting, but demonstrably false. There are already duplexes, triplexes, and apartments throughout my neighborhood, including on my block. There are businesses a block and a half from my door. I have never complained that anyone should be removed for my snobbish benefit. I just don't believe it's good for the neighborhood that these uses become even more dominant. Why would I say this? I believe it's no secret that rentals in Bowling Green have a strong tendency towards poor maintenance. Few things so quickly lead to deterioration of an older home than lack of upkeep. I recently reported 2 properties in my neighborhood for flaking paint blowing into the street, creating environmental hazards. Need I mention that both of those houses are rentals? Thank God we have the Wood County Health Department to insist such problems be addressed in timely fashion. City Council, by contrast, has declined to impose any such requirements. That decision alone represents a failure to prioritize historic preservation. What incentive do I have as owner of a house built in the 1880s to replace rotting porch joists, update a crumbling driveway, or otherwise maintain my property in good condition for a future generation of occupants, when all around me, homes are going to rental with peeling paint and weed trees sprouting in the gutters? What hope can I cherish of ever recouping my major investments on an eventual sale of my house if the neighborhood goes into decline? Please do not further grease the skids for unscrupulous investors and landlords who allow our inner city to deteriorate. Please reconsider the goal of density via multi-occupancy in our historic district. In my view, any zoning change that facilitates more rental units as opposed to owner occupancy will have significant downsides. It is too soon for council to finalize new zoning maps or codes. City center homeowners prefer to remain R2, not a PR district. I am grateful for your attention and your patience as public servants. I'm sure you're getting a lot of negativity right now, and I respect what you're trying to do. So thank you very much for hearing my concerns.
All right, thank you very much.
Vasiliki Leontis.
My name is Vasiliki Leontis. I live in 119 North Summit. And in speaking at the lobby visitation, I only represent myself, not any organization I may belong to. So I have very modest things to say compared to the beautiful, eloquent speeches we heard just now. And I'm going to talk about some mundane things. As a person who witnessed how a life can be flipped radically and permanently in a second, I have a lot of respect for mundane stuff because they make up our everyday lives. So, I am going to talk a little bit about mundane things and the kind of quality or non-quality of life that they bring. So the idea here is that the PR district plans to bring businesses to infiltrate residential neighborhoods. Now, my neighborhood is not exactly residential, it's commercial residential. It's not purely residential. That changed several years ago, but that's okay. I was kind of happy at first to have, let's say, call it its name, Market Square. You know, I am at a breath's distance from Market Square. Well, let's say 5 breaths distance from Market Square. So I know what it means to be very close to businesses. This is not a thought experiment for the future, okay? I'm speaking from experience. And there are positive and negative things, mundane things. So I'll tell you a lot of 3 classes of negative mundane things. You guessed it, it's going to be negative. Number 1, My bedroom has wonderful bay windows overlooking the back of my backyard and Market Square. I can never open them. Never. Why? Because of the noise. The delivery trucks come in any time of the day to deliver goods, of course. I mean, it's a business, right? The dumpster picking trash truck comes twice a week, 4 o'clock in the morning. I cannot sleep. The delivery people who are doing their jobs to make, some petty money are zooming at the back parking lot like crazy, day and night. I cannot sleep. So I might as well move to another part of the house to sleep. So there is that. If you have those, and like I said, Market Square is like at the back, not too far, but not too close. Now imagine I have the business next door to me, and I am separated from that business by my driveway, which is, narrow. What will happen when the truck comes 4 o'clock in the morning to pick up the trash from the business right in front of the front yard at the street, not at the back? Not nice. Second, filth. Plenty of it. Debris flying from the dumpster. 2 dumpsters, nice dumpsters. Big, nice dumpsters to serve how many businesses? 4, 5, 6, I don't know. And there is an enclosure too, by the way. So it's a nice insulation, the best that you can make out of the circumstances. And you know how it is with Bowling Green when the wind is strong. Stuff flies and comes to rest on the trees that I have in the backyard. I cannot imagine myself climbing trees now, to get boxes from there. I can only pick up debris, trash boxes that are down in the yard. So I do that. I don't know that anybody would like to pick up trash every day. Third, light pollution. I guess nobody thinks about light pollution, but I do. I started doing that because I have a deck, and I can never enjoy sitting in my deck because the Big Coffee, which I love because my beloved husband used to have an office there at Big Coffee. Okay, we loved it, but it's there day and night. You can never, sit at your, little corner and enjoy a summer night. All right. And the tall light, which makes you feel like you're in an airport. Light pollution is bad for your mental health. It's bad for mine, anyway. So I say that, and I'm really serious about that, because I read the code and the provisions it makes about illuminated signs. That's going to be a big deal when you have the signs next to you. Not at the back, but really next to you. Okay. So I understand that there are some positive aspects to this. I understand about walkability. I grew up in Europe. Things are crowded there. We have to walk walk a lot there. And that's okay because you do your business easily. You go wherever you want to go easily on foot. That's great. I like walkability. But we heard from many people, and I concur, that this is pretty walkable. That district is pretty walkable the way it is. Also, if you want to raise the value of that district without necessarily making it a PR, all you need to do is have transit, public transport coming from other areas, the west side, the east side of the city, north, south, wherever. I was in Turkey a few years ago, and I liked something there. They had small buses, tiny buses. They had like big vans sort of thing, and they would zoom around, pick up people, take them anywhere. These were not big buses that were, so maybe you can consider those tiny, very agile buses that will bring people downtown and add to the vibrancy of downtown and the entire area, which you want it to be PR, and we don't. But in any case, they can add a lot of value. The last thing that I want to say is we have a beautiful courthouse. This is really beautiful. I've studied the history of it. And do you feel comfortable with businesses? I mean, businesses infiltrating the residential areas all around courthouse and producing the detrimental, mundane things that I talked about a little earlier. Noise, light pollution, trash, debris, stuff like that. And crowdedness. It's going to be very crowded, I guess. All right. I will not say more. I thank the council for listening to me because I tend to be unpleasant. I want to thank Jeff for bringing to my attention some moral issues that are not for this moment, but I will come to them. These are very dear to my heart. Okay. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
David Drain.
Hello, my name is David Drain. I live at 228 Court Street, right across the street from the courthouse. So the courthouse is very dear to me too. I moved here after growing up here and having to move away because there were no jobs in Ohio when I graduated from college. I've lived in Dallas and Phoenix, State College, Pennsylvania, and Rolla, Missouri. I don't want to live in a big city. I moved here because I want to live in a small city like Bowling Green, where I can walk outside at night safely, where I don't hear gunshots at night. I like Bowling Green and I want it to stay the way it is. I'm opposed to the PR district in my part of town and probably any part of town in Bowling Green. I don't like the idea of more density, especially more cars in my part of town. Have you ever tried to park near the courthouse? It's nearly impossible, especially if you want to park overnight. Parking overnight in my neighborhood is practically impossible. When people come to visit, I tell them, park someplace else. There's no parking in the street. Our driveway has 2 parking spaces, and that's it. You're out of luck. So the idea of bringing in more cars more density and trucks into that neighborhood is just crazy to me. I cannot imagine why anyone would want to do that. If we want to make that area more walkable, why don't we fix the sidewalks? I'm really glad I don't have a wheelchair because I couldn't get around that neighborhood in a wheelchair. There are chunks of sidewalks missing on Enterprise and Summit Street, just gone. Why don't, if we want to make it more beautiful, why don't we bury all those ugly cables around the aerial cables around the courthouse? So there are many easy things we could do to make that a better neighborhood without densifying it, bring more cars, more business. And my favorite is the garbage trucks at 4 a.m., which I can hear from my house on Court Street. The density would also devalue that property that I bought as an investment. And because I want to make that a beautiful house, to restore it to its former grandeur. I expect if I really do that, it will take me about another $300,000. I'm not going to invest that money in a property that's going to be next to a vape shop. The corner right across from me now has an old brick house that if that property is rezoned will be torn down and turned into a business as quickly as possible because that is a cash cow corner. I don't want that noise, that ugly neon junk in the light in my house all the time. It's bad enough to have the light from the church. I like the church. I'm Methodist. It's okay. But I don't like their sign. And we would have that all over the place if we had businesses in the neighborhood. So I talk about the devaluation of the property. I'm a statistician. I'll admit it in public here. Okay. And I did a quick estimate of the loss of property value if the entire PR district were converted. I estimated at around $60 million. So that's money you would be taking away from people who invested their life savings in homes here under the promise of living in a residential neighborhood that would not be crammed full of apartments and businesses. I think you should seriously consider that promise and think about changing that carefully. I think that's everything. I'm happy my other friends here have said many of the things I was going to say already, so I'm not going to repeat them, and I'll let you get on with your business. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ann Bollerjohn.
Hi, Ann Bullerjohn, 201 North Maple Street. I'll keep this brief because all of my neighbors have said what I hope to say, except I want to tell you about my yesterday because I know y'all will be real interested. I walked from my house on North Maple Street to Juniper and had a lovely brunch. And then I went to the Black Swamp Theater, and I recommend Marjorie Prime to anyone who hasn't seen it yet. And then I walked home. I do not understand why there needs to be a new designation of pedestrian residential. I walk everywhere. My neighbors walk everywhere. I see all of these people walking everywhere. This is a really bad idea. Please keep our neighborhoods R2.
All right, thank you.
Rose Drain.
My name is Rose Drain. I live at 228 East Court Street, directly across from the beautiful historic courthouse. I live a block away from the first residential home in Bowling Green that became part of the Historic Preservation Commission's City of Bowling Green historically designated properties. I agree with Anissa, who said that our historic downtown district and the surrounding blocks are a treasure. The feeling that one gets when going through our neighborhoods is irreplaceable to me. I moved to Bowling Green when I was 13 years old. And one thing I love about this city is the beautiful old neighborhoods, the trees, the yards, the grass, the places for children to play, people who rent homes because they can't afford to buy a home in Bowling Green have yards for their kids to play in. Our 94-year-old cousin said, if they increase the density in all of those neighborhoods, where are the children going to play? So that's a concern. With increased businesses, density of housing, parking is going to be a problem. We want to make our community bikeable and continue to have it be walkable. And yet, I think bringing in a density of businesses and more housing is going to take away from that. The mayor has currently put his support behind the Downtown Forward effort that is being studied by the university. And another thing I don't understand is why would you consider adopting the pedestrian residential district that'll allow businesses on street corners, businesses of all kinds on street corners, when we are trying to keep our downtown viable? Why siphon business away from the part of town that is lovely looking and needs more support from shoppers? Finally, I want to echo my husband's comment that people and other people's comment that people bought homes in these older neighborhoods when they were designated R2. So isn't it a betrayal of trust to change the zoning on those residences now? Please consider, if you're thinking of a PR district, please consider taking a look at the proposed appropriate areas of the city that were designated by the 2018 Community Action Project. The CAP map does not show the neighborhoods that you have designated as PR as being appropriate for what you are suggesting. So I request that you not vote on the proposed zoning map that you have under consideration before you take a look at what was proposed by the CAP. I know if I sit down, I'm going to remember something that seemed really important. So I would like to see you keep R2 in our neighborhoods and not make any quick decision in regard to the zoning map. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Christian Giblin.
Hi, my name is Kristen Giblin. I live at 438 North Prospect, close to the courthouse, not right across from it, but I'm proud to be near it. There has been talk in the kind of the local social media that we are an anti-renter group. I would like to correct that. I am not anti-rental. We have students living next door to us, and we have a good relationship with them. We had to clarify a few things at first when they moved in, but it's going well now. They respect the neighborhood. They handed out candy at Halloween. We rented our house before we bought it. Most of us have had to rent at one point or another. That's just reality. You do that, then you buy, or maybe some people can't afford to buy. I'm not anti-rental. We do need to provide rental opportunities for those who can't afford to purchase a home or can't afford it yet. I have no problem with many of the rental tenants in our neighborhood. I must say some student rentals do create a lot of noise and litter. I can think of several of my neighbors that have chronic problems with noise, parties going into the early hours of the morning. And I think what we need is more responsible landlords. I think that's what we need. We need landlords to step up and do their job, to maintain their properties and rent to people who will respect the neighbors. Our neighborhood is really kind of doing its duty in this regard. If we all have a duty to provide a certain amount of rentals, and maybe we do, we have rentals on every block, more than one. I can't imagine having more with greater population densification and the reduced green space that would ensue. Is any other area of town obligated to provide rentals as well? Why are we the only ones responsible for this? I feel like you're sort of designating us as the rental district. And I think we need a diversity of homes. I think we have a lot of rentals. I don't know that we can absorb any more. We have to think about property values. That is a reality. We do need to think about the needs of people in different walks of life, different levels of society. I think our neighborhood is doing that. So why are we the ones who have to do this for the whole town? That's all I'm saying. Thank you for listening.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. That brings us to the introduction of new legislation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
from the Finance Committee, I've got one resolution and 4 ordinances. First, a resolution transferring previously appropriated funds. Second, an ordinance to provide appropriations for the expenses and other expenditures of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2023. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Services to sign an LPA agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, and to seek qualifications, advertise for bids, and to enter into a contract or contracts for design, engineering, right-of-way acquisition, construction, and other services related to the resurfacing of West Newton Road and a portion of North Main Street and declaring an emergency. Also, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Services to sign an LPA agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, and to seek qualifications, advertise for bids, and enter into a contract or contracts for design, engineering, right-of-way acquisition, construction, and other services related to the resurfacing of Gypsy Lane Road. And an ordinance amending and adopting sections 33.1G and 33.18A of the codified ordinances of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio regarding employment policies.
Mr. President,
Mr. Odoricio.
the Community Improvement Committee has a resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio to file an application and execute a contract on grant application approval under the Community Development Block Grant Entitlement Program as authorized by the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended.
Okay. And I have 3 ordinances from utilities. I have ordinance authorizing utilities director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts for lime sludge disposal services. An ordinance accepting an easement for utility purposes from the Wood County Board of Commissioners, and an ordinance authorizing the utilities director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts to replace slide gates at the water pollution control facility. All right. Official reports, Mr. Mayor.
I have no report, subject to any questions that you may have.
Any questions for the mayor this evening? All right, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Municipal Administrator, Ms. Treader.
Also, no report, subject to questions.
Are there any questions for Ms. Treader this evening?
Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Being City Attorney, Mr. Marsh. Any questions for Mr. Marsh this evening? Public Services Director, Mr. Fawcett.
Well, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is I have no report.
Hmm.
The bad news is that Kristen's here to give a report from Parks and Recreation. So before I turn it over to Kristen, I'm happy to answer any
Is
questions
there
you might
any
have for me.
questions for Mr. Fawcett? Thank you very much.
I don't think this is bad news.
Well, somebody has to talk to us.
I think people have.
Well, Joe told me since, I don't come all the time that I had a half hour, but, in light of the long lobby visitation, I'm calling this Bowling Green Parks and Recreation a quick year in review. Okay. So, basically, and the year is not over. We're still doing things every day. But overall, this is kind of the most typical year we've had since 2019. We're seeing that folks are kind of coming out of the COVID fog, especially about halfway through this year. So I'm going to throw some numbers out at you and just kind of review some projects that we've done as well. Programming and events, we had 346 kids go through our day camp program. Youth sports, 478. We have held over 45 different events. And don't forget about City Park Winter Spark coming up December 17th. So again, the year is not over. Natural resources programming, all of the popular pre-COVID nature programs have now been able to be brought back. Every single Bowling Green Elementary and the private schools have had nature programs either at Winter Garden, Simpson, or in their classrooms. Natural resources folks have hosted 24 volunteer sessions with BGSU, totaling 471 service hours. New adult programming in the natural resources area, Friday morning birding, and a sustainable landscaping program that was a partner program with Wood County Park District and Wood County Soil and Water Conservation District. It was a 5-part program that was so popular they had to move the venue to give a larger space because so many people wanted to come. Aquatics, over 30,000 visitors to the pool this summer. 436 kids went through swim lessons. This one is for Joe. We sold 1,783 trays of nachos at the concession stand. Year 2 of our Splash Fund, being able to offer folks not only the 50% off for financial need, but to have that covered through generous donations so they could get a pass fully for free. Facility rentals so far this year, our buildings have been used by 106,788 people for their life moments. Our foundation, we had a foundation trustee here earlier. They are fantastic. They had a very successful party for the parks fundraiser. And just recently, the first ever BG Brewfest fundraiser, which was a smashing success. They continue to support us financially in all that we do. Our 2022-2026 master plan was approved, and we have obviously begun implementation. Concept plan for outdoor pickleball courts is complete, and an advisory group has begun soliciting sponsors and donors. We are working with citizens groups all the time, but specifically with Dog Park and Disc Golf. We restarted our Board of Control meetings with all of the partners out at the community center and restarted and completed the meetings that we had started in 2019 of the original Simpson Garden Committee. And there will be an advisory group coming out of that very soon. Lots of projects. I'm just taking a snippet and I promise I'm almost done. Electrical upgrades in Needle Hall, including new outlets and interior and exterior lighting. Retrofitted lighting at the pool to all new LED lights. Installed new timed door locks on the City Park rink restroom. Installed sound baffles in the vet building atrium. And again, that is 100% from our foundation, and then our staff installed it themselves. Public Works installed for us a new pedestrian cut through in the community center parking lot island, which had long been requested by folks, and a new entry at Simpson off of Conneaut to make that bib there a little bit bigger and easier for vehicles to enter. Parking lot security lights installed at Simpson, 6 new benches installed at Winter Garden, boardwalk extension and overlook completed at Winter Garden, all new landscaping installed at the stone shelter. The new sundial sculpture was installed and dedicated at Simpson. A lot of you were last week out at the Inclusive Playground that was officially opened through partnerships with lots of people, and we have talked about that. And walking path and lighting at City Park, we also talked about that. Some additional security cameras have gone in, and some more will be coming with some of that money. So lots of other things too numerous to mention. And beautiful parks open to the public 365 days a year. So we are continuing to every day enhance quality of life in Bowling Green through parks, programs, and facilities. I promised it would be quick. For me, that was really quick.
All right, are there any questions?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Public Infrastructure Director, Mr. O'Connell. Are there any questions for Mr. O'Connell this evening? That brings us to council committee reports. Are there any council committee reports? Let's see what I've got here. There will be a public hearing on Thursday, this Thursday, the 8th at 6:30, regarding ordinance 9044. There will also be a special council meeting this Thursday, the 8th, following that hearing. So are we just going to call it 7 o'clock? The meeting's going to start, or just after the hearing? Or... Okay, so that council meeting will start following the 6:30 hearing. Let's see, what else do I got? I think that's all I've got for public meetings. So, anybody have anything else? No? Okay. Brings us to the reading of legislation.
Legislation for first reading. Resolution number 3840, resolution transferring previously appropriated funds.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
I move to suspend the rules and give resolution 3840 its second and third readings.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Jody?
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rabando,
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Okay, the rules are suspended for resolution 3840.
Resolution number 3840 for second and third readings. Resolution transferring previously appropriated funds.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
I move to adopt resolution 3840.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Jody?
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rabando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 3840 is adopted.
Resolution 3841 for first reading. Resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio to file an application and execute a contract upon grant application approval under the Community Development Block Grant Entitlement Program as authorized by the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended. Ordinance number 9048, ordinance to provide appropriations for the expenses and other expenditures of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2023 and ending December 31, 2020. Ordinance number 9049, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Services to sign an LPA agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, and to seek qualifications, advertise for bids, and to enter into a contract or contracts for design, engineering, right-of-way acquisition, construction, and other services related to the resurfacing of West Newton Road and a portion of North Main Street and declaring an emergency. Ordinance number 9050 for first reading. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Services to sign an LPA agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, and to seek qualifications, advertise for bids, and to enter into a contract or contracts for design, engineering, right-of-way acquisition, construction, and other services related to the resurfacing of Gypsy Lane Road. Ordinance number 9051, ordinance amending and adopting sections 33.01G and 33.18A of the codified ordinances of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio regarding employment policies. Ordinance number 9052 for first reading. Ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts for lime sludge disposal services. Ordinance number 9053 for first reading. Ordinance accepting an easement for utility purposes from Wood County Board of Commissioners. Ordinance number 9054 for first reading. Ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts to replace slide gates at the Water Pollution Control Facility. Ordinance legislation for second reading. Ordinance number 9046 for second reading. Ordinance amending and adopting sections 76.23 and 76.30 of the codified ordinances of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio regarding operation of meters, coin deposit and time mechanism, payment of fines, and amending and adopting section 98.08 and section 98.40 regarding construction permits, required fees, and work on public streets, right-of-ways, and grounds excavation permit required, and amending and adopting section 152.29 regarding permit fees, and amending and adopting 35.70 city fees and fees charged for services. Ordinance number 9047 for second reading. Ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to apply for a loan and execute an agreement with the Ohio EPA, Ohio Water Development Authority, OWDA, for water supply revolving loan account, WSRLA, funding for the design, engineering, and construction of the South Main Street water main improvements. Legislation for third reading. Resolution number 3839, resolution approving revisions to the bicycle facilities and destinations map in the transportation section of the comprehensive master plan of the City of Bowling Green.
Mr. President,
Ms. Phipps.
we need to set the required public hearing on this resolution for Tuesday, January 17th at 6:30 that evening.
Okay.
And then, Mr. President,
Ms. Phipps.
I would move to table resolution 3839 until January 17th after that public hearing.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Jody, could you call the roll?
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rabando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh.
Yes. Okay, so resolution 3839 is tabled to January 17th at 6:30. Right.
Ordinance number 9041 for third reading. Ordinance amending and adopting section 33.04 of the codified ordinances of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio, relative to pay scales for seasonal employees.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
I move to adopt ordinance 9041.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Jody?
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rabando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 9041 is adopted.
Ordinance number 9042 for third reading. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Services and the Utilities Director to sign an LPA agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, and to request qualifications and to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts for design, engineering, right-of-way, acquisition, construction, and other services relating to improvements on South Main Street from Ordway to the South Corporation limit for water main replacement, pavement resurfacing, and intersection improvements at Napoleon Road, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I move to adopt the emergency clause for ordinance 9042.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Jody?
Robinette,
Yes.
Urbando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps.
Yes.
Okay, the emergency clause is adopted for ordinance 9042. I would like to now move to adopt ordinance 9042.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Jody?
Urbando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette.
Yes.
And ordinance 9042 is adopted.
Ordinance number 9043 for third reading. Ordinance accepting annexation of approximately 131.09 acres of land in Center Township, Wood County, Ohio, from Mauer Family Farms LLC petitioner.
Mr. President,
Ms. Phipps?
I move to table ordinance 9043 until this Thursday, December 8th, until our special meeting on this topic Thursday.
Okay. Second?
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Jody?
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Urbando.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 9043 is tabled until this Thursday, December 8th.
Ordinance number 9044 for third reading. Ordinance establishing interim zoning of M2 general industrial zoning for the approximately 131.09 acres of land located on Nims Road and recently annexed to the city as petitioned by Mauer Family Farms LLC.
Mr. President,
Ms. Phipps?
I move to adopt the emergency clause for ordinance 9044.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Jody?
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Urbando,
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Okay, the emergency clause is adopted for ordinance 9044.
Mr. President,
Ms. Phipps?
again, this property is the subject of our special meeting this Thursday, so I move to table ordinance 9044 until Thursday, December 8th.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Jody?
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Urbando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold.
Yes.
Okay, so ordinance 9044 is tabled to this Thursday, December 8th. Is there any other business to come before council this evening? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, so we will take a break until, let's see, 7 minutes will put us at 8:30. Let's do that.
Okay.
So the 6:30 meeting is just planning, zoning, and economic development. There's going to be a hearing, and then right after there will be a special hearing. So we can vote on right after. Okay.
Time to change binders.